When you think about buying your dream luxury car, there is an expectation of a certain customer experience, one that produces a high level of satisfaction and is empowering to the buyer. Eileen Chow is dealing with the issue of what happens when an experience is less than what is expected. Today, we will be discussing Porsche and its need to achieve real customer centrism to ensure that every customer experience is a dream car experience. Aloha and good morning. My name is Carrie, and today I'm joined by my teammates, Sharon, Melanie, and Michelle. We are Malama Consulting from the University of Hawaii's Shidler College of Business, proudly representing the state of Hawaii. In Hawaiian, Malama means to care, which is the core tenet of this presentation. At Malama Consulting, our goal is to afford the greatest care possible for you and your communities.
Eileen Chow's goal is to get to the bottom of and resolve Porsche's unreliable service and process failure in terms of delivery and customer satisfaction, as well as address the company's unsuccessful recovery method made by the dealerships. As we recognize and understand that there is a service failure and poor customer experience problem that Porsche directly desires to resolve, after discussing it further among our team, we concluded that the main issue is overall misalignment in terms of understanding and applying customer-centric solutions. This misalignment serves as the root cause as to why Porsche is facing the problems that they are. We believe that this misalignment stems from two areas, within the organization and within the customer buying process. On one hand, we have misalignment within the organization when it comes to being customer-centric. This is specifically between Porsche's corporate side and the dealership side. The two parties do not have uniform views when it comes to customer centrism, which is visibly noticeable in how there was a disconnect between the service Porsche believed they were providing and the service the dealers were actually providing. Furthermore, disconnection takes a deeper root within Porsche's human capital, resulting in the lack of knowledge and ability to provide satisfaction to customers. On the other hand, we have a misalignment within the customer buying process between sales associates and the consumers. Sales associates are familiar with and know every detail about the buying process. However, customers do not have that same accessibility. This shows lack of transparency and causes a delay in customer communication. In the remainder of the presentation, we come up with solutions to address both parts of this overarching misalignment issue in order for Porsche to provide the quality service and customer experience its reputation is known to have. To give a brief overview of the situation, Porsche ranks top 3 in terms of sales satisfaction and has sold 20,015 units of Just Taycans worldwide in 2020. The brand is known for its custom vehicle personalization, and deliveries can take up to 6 months. We can tell that Porsche is extremely sought after among the higher net worth individuals in Hong Kong as an aspirational car. Paul, who we have here on the left, is a Porsche fan. He has aspirational needs to satisfy with this product. He is not price sensitive, and for Paul and many others, this is their dream car. Porsche's goal was to create another satisfied customer out of Paul. However, Paul was just left with disappointment after disappointment through his experience. Here, we have a diagram of the 3 elements that need to work hand in hand in order to promote a customer-centric business and give customers like Paul the experience he seeks. Customers building a car typically do not know exactly what they need nor want. They just know they have aspirational needs to meet. In order for Porsche to focus on their customers, they need to reorganize and restructure their internal human resources and processes, as well as integrate technology that enables efficiency and satisfaction every step of the way. Now I will pass it on to Carrie, who will give an analysis of the customer buying process.
In order to effectively analyze this situation, we must take a look at the current buying process. It begins with a simple test drive, then 2 rounds of specification to customize the car. The car then arrives and problems are rectified, followed by a customer satisfaction survey. From the very beginning, there is a lack of customer knowledge of the actual product and its offerings. Overall, this process is lengthy and has long communication times, leading the customer to be out of the loop when it comes to the actual purchasing process. This can be seen as a one-way traditional process with minimal customer consultation. Beyond the customer buying process, there is a misalignment in the perspectives of salespeople and the perspective of the customers. On the sales side, employees are obviously driven by money, as selling more cars will provide them with a higher income. However, they are also uninterested in adopting technological features as they are unable to see the value in them. They currently lack the tools to be effective salespeople, and using technology could also help them to be more successful in knowing their customers. All in all, if they use tools and features to empower their customers, they can achieve their goal of higher sales. On the customer side, they feel left out and uninvolved in the purchasing process. Initially and throughout the buying process, they are uninformed and unaware of certain things like product specifications. When buying a luxury product like this one, their expectations of an ideal sales experience are not met. In order to achieve the customer's goals of a satisfactory experience, there must be a downstream focus and all-around transparency.
Now that Carrie has analyzed the customer buying process, I will be going over the misalignment at Porsche in terms of being customer-centric within the organization. Here, we have David, your average change-averse sales associate at one of Porsche's dealerships. Dealers, like David, lack knowledge, training, and resources to effectively provide customers satisfaction. This is due to a disconnect between the customers and sales associates in terms of what it is customers truly need and value and what sales associates prioritize. Customers desire that aspirational value, making this product purchase is providing them, whether that be status, feeling of accomplishment, or other circumstances going on in their lives. As an example, in the case of Paul, we inferred that since it was springtime, Paul could have potentially gotten a new job, got promoted, or something big just recently happened in his life that made him decide that now is the time to purchase his dream car. He was at a point in his life where he was excited and ready for this new adventure. Our team considered these possible circumstances that Paul could have been experiencing. However, the failure on Porsche's end is that David, who is primarily concerned with making a commission sale, failed to recognize the circumstances surrounding Paul's purchase decision, which was why he was not able to provide the value that was needed, resulting in customer dissatisfaction. Porsche needs to equip their salespeople with the resources, knowledge, and training they need to effectively narrow down who their customers are and what they may be going through in order to provide quality and satisfactory recommendations. Here, our team has provided a breakdown of the gap between corporate and dealers' perspectives regarding understanding and applying customer-centric solutions. Porsche's corporate executives are operations-focused and believe that they are customer-centric. They also believe that they know who their customers are and what their needs are. Dealers or sales associates, on the other hand, are sales and strategy focused, and they do not embody being customer-centric. They also contrarily lack an understanding of who the customers are and what they're looking to get out of Porsche. In addition to these points, we wanted to highlight that corporate had a poor recognition of what the sales staff needed in terms of skills and expertise to be able to drive these desired solutions.
To summarize, the problem we are dealing with is the misalignment in the application of customer-centric solutions. Our team plans to address the organizational misalignment, first with the introduction of a code team and personal scoreboard system. Second, we will address the misalignment in the customer buying process with the redesign of the process itself and the implementation of a CRM portal.
First of all, we have identified two main key issues. The first one is that there is an organizational misalignment in terms of what true customer centrism is and successfully communicating and implementing these values through all levels within the company. Is customer centrism truly understood and carried out? These customer-centric values especially need to be understood at the most basic level where direct consumer interaction is present. Our strategy to solve this issue is by proposing an organizational restructuring and adjusting metrics such as implementing a personal scoreboard feature, which will be further explained. The next issue that we wanted to focus on is this misalignment in the customer buying process. Does it truly communicate the values of customer centrism? Our solution is to create a customer portal, which includes features such as a get-to-know-you quiz, along with real-time updates throughout the customer journey. To solve this disconnect between the corporate side and the consumer-focusing dealerships, we recognize that the key is to reorganize this traditional top-down approach and bring involvement from both ends of the organization. Our proposal is the CODE team. CODE stands to bridge the gap made up by individuals from both ends to see the whole picture of the company, understanding each other's perspectives. This team will be a temporary group tasked to identify the champions in dealerships, as they're the ones that have a direct impact on consumer experience. Individuals should be well respected, who serve as role models, possessing good communication skills, but otherwise still none other than your regular sales associates on the floor. These champions will be your influencers that will play a pivotal role in embodying and promoting the company culture, which is consumer centrism. Of course, we will also be nurturing these selected individuals' leadership capabilities by bringing in outside professional consulting. Utilizing the train-the-trainer method, these champions will go through training through the code team to become experts in how to deliver exceptional customer experience, inspiring those around them. This strategy will open up a flowing conversation top-down and bottom-up, which creates a feedback loop, allowing room to identify misses and empowering the voices on every level. Of course, further looking in, we recognize that from a sales associate's perspective, there needs to be a metric and incentives in place that will help them visualize the value of a customer-centric focus on their part. Our answer is the personal scoreboard feature. This scoreboard will be displaying the data such as customer satisfaction score, their directly related sales performance, and their commission fee. On a closer look, sales associates can also see a visualization of the direct relationship of how increased customer satisfaction is related to the increase in personal sales. This personal scoreboard will also be able to analyze this complex data and identify key points such as the strengths and any areas for improvement to encourage growth. Through this personalized scoreboard, sales associates will also be able to monitor their growth as we emphasize the focus on customer satisfaction and experience, and we believe that it will lead to the recognition of the true value of a customer-centric company. Next, we have identified the risks and carefully devised our mitigation strategies to counter them. Among these, we want to highlight the risk of a resistance and change, which oftentimes presents itself through three phases: not understanding the need to change, thus not liking the change, that eventually leads to a lack of trust. To mitigate this, our strategy tackles the problem at all three levels. To make them understand the need to change, the personal scoreboard will show the value this change brings. Not liking the change and lack of trust can oftentimes stem from bringing in unfamiliar and external parties. However, in this case, the champion is one of them. Through the train-to-trainer method, we will also prepare for best practices and also emphasize the importance of open conversation and inclusion. Next, Michelle will walk you through the second phase of our strategy.
Thank you, Melanie. So for strategy 2, our goal was to redesign that customer buying process, as we've already explained that this current experience is not ideal. Although Porsche ranks consistently high in customer experience, we believe it is important to be proactive in putting in these efforts so that Porsche never has to deal with a nagging customer service problem. In the old model, you can see that during the middle of it, there is lots of back and forth between dealer and customer, and this isn't fun for either party. Also, as you see, the customer satisfaction survey is at the end of the journey, which leads to vulnerability for Porsche in getting a bad rating if there were any hiccups in the inefficient process. This, to me, shows that Porsche wasn't truly thinking about the customer from the beginning. So let's take a look at the new customer buying process we came up with to streamline this customer journey. We first suggest that before customers come in, that they take a get-to-know-you quiz, and this helps Porsche in learning about who exactly your customer is even before the first introduction. Then through that, are they able to schedule that initial test drive? It also helps the customers know more about what Porsche offers as they have time to look over all the options beforehand. The other major changes in this process is that we have the availability of real-time updates and customer satisfaction surveys throughout the entire journey. We felt that through this, it allows the customer to really be involved and engage in the process, building that excitement as they anxiously wait for the dream car. It allows them insight throughout the whole process, which is what we envision to be the ideal customer buying process. But let's take a look into the specifics of what this entails. So customer centrism is really what we're going after, and this strategy aims to solve that on a technological level, as in employing the right tech to embody that customer-centric focus. So we introduced the formation of the Porsche Customer Relationship Management Portal. On this portal, there's going to be three main parties: the manufacturer, the dealership, and the customer, where the dealer is the middleman and has communication with the other two. In the dealer and manufacturer portal, they see things such as inventory count, production timeline, and expected delivery date. In the customer and dealer portal, they see things such as the customer profile, order history, and feedback. This portal helps everyone, as its purpose is to create transparency accountability, and efficiency. So here we have a mock-up of what we'd like to see on the customer's portal. So on their profile, we have a sample of that get to know you quiz like I mentioned earlier. And this will allow the customers to really evaluate and take their time learning about what it is they want for themselves. After that, the portal will recommend a few cars for them to look at. And here they have the option to either modify it to include more custom features, or they can schedule a test drive with it. And since the dealers also have access to this portal, it allows them to understand the context of who they are and what they're looking for when they come into Porsche. With the integration of this, it creates an omni-channel platform. And what this does is provide customers with a seamless experience throughout the various touch points. Now, for the risk associated with the strategy, we have listed a few down, but the one I want to mainly discuss is the risk that the customers won't adopt the technology, which could be very likely. And if this does happen, the impact would be high, since the whole point of the new process and customer portal is for them. So to mitigate this issue, we're going to work to create an intuitive design that has the customer experience at the forefront. We'll also have an internal customer support so that they can be guided through the portal. And also when the customers meet the dealer for the initial test drive, I think this would be a great opportunity for Porsche's dealer to go through the portal with the customer, which allows them to build that relationship even further. They can explain the value and benefit of it to them, especially when telling them that the portal is where they're going to find that real-time updates to the progress of the car and that they aren't left in the dark or anxious about anything. Now that we've finished looking at our strategies, I'll be going over our proposed timeline of events. So it was really important for us to, first address the problem of the organization misalignment, as only then are we able to have a smoother transition into our second strategy that deals with the customer process change. So as we have mentioned before, the code team will be a temporary group starting from 2022, lasting until the end of 2023. Shortly after the introduction of the team, training will start from professional consultants, which also account for the training of the champions, after which the scoreboard system will be implemented. And after a year, we do want to have an account of an evaluation period, assessing the success and value of this newly implemented system. On the other hand, when addressing the customer buying process misalignment issue, the back-end process should start simultaneously with strategy one, as the second one will take a little more preparation time before execution. So for this, we've allocated around a year to develop the portal, followed by employee training to use this new system, which will then be finalized with a short period of beta testing in one of your regions for around 2 months. And the official portal launch is projected to be around 2024, and we believe it'd be smart to evaluate its effectiveness and work out any quirks before proceeding on. Now I'll be passing it back to Sharon to finish off with our financial impacts.
Thank you, Michelle. Here we have a calculated expected financial impact from the implementation of our team's proposed two strategies. As you can see, we calculated a year one revenue of 453 million Hong Kong dollars based off of the 2020 take-in sales in Hong Kong. Then we assumed what costs Porsche would incur that year, which included Porsche's operating margins, which we assumed to be 10% of their revenue, as well as the costs associated with the newly implemented solutions. This includes costs for training, developing and implementing the technology, introducing our CRM model, and outside consulting. From there, we calculated what Porsche's profits and return on investment would be, which ended up being 395 million Hong Kong dollars in profit and 6.8 times return on investment in year one. This chart also shows a projection of what Porsche's P&L would look like after 4 years, assuming a year-over-year growth of 50%, as the industry standard on revenue for any corporation that pursues organizational cultural alignment would increase by 4 times. Here at Malama Consulting, we dedicate ourselves to following a philosophy of taking care of the company, which means providing solutions that are not only operationally feasible, but financially viable. Just to reiterate, as we recognize and understand that there's a service failure and poor customer experience problem that Porsche desires to resolve, we believe that the main issue is overall misalignment in terms of understanding and applying customer-centric solutions. We believe that implementing a code team and personalized scoreboard, as well as redesigning the customer buying process and developing a CRM portal, will allow Porsche to improve their service and gain customer satisfaction worthy of their reputation. With that, thank you, Eileen Chow, and the rest of the Porsche team for being here and taking our recommendations into consideration. We hope you see the value in our strategies and are able to implement these in your future plans. With that, this concludes our presentation from Team Hawaii, and we welcome any questions, comments, and feedback now. Thank you.
Hey, I can
think-
go. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So just a quick one. Some of the earlier facts that you presented into salesman versus customer experience, are these facts related to the case study or these are assumptions?
So when we were discussing kind of the different point of views between the salesperson and the customer, these were kind of the things that we discussed based on what we read in the case. So we could tell that there was more of a focus on sales and kind of selling as many cars as you could versus actually knowing the customer and knowing the environment in which the customer is in to make them purchase the car and to make the informed decisions so that the processes are more effective. And we kind of compared the two and saw that there was that misalignment in actually caring what the customer wants versus just kind of leaving them out of the purchasing process.
Where you say customer is left out of purchase process, is that part of the case?
Yes. So in the case, Paul said that he called David, the dealer or the sales associate, like around every month to get updates on when his car is going to be delivered. So that's where we got that idea or that from. And we kind of just noticed that throughout like other stuff when they're like waiting for their dream car or any sales, like the customer isn't really that involved in it, but we kind of have an expectation, especially because it's Porsche, that they should have a higher expectation of like service and everything.
Okay. Just going back to your risk and mitigation slide, just flipping around. Why do you think the adoption of this technology of the change resistance will be high? And when you say the likelihood is high, is it from customer point of view? Is it from sales point of view?
Yes, thank you so much for your question. So when we meant by change is that usually there is going to be a resistance when it comes to adopting new technology, a new process, because it is unfamiliar. And I think most people are really keen on just like keeping their old processes because that's what they're comfortable with. But and then we recognize this is what usually happens. But then to really ensure like a smooth transition, we have in place the personal scoreboard that helps them really see the new value that we provide through this customer-centric solution. And then also, of course, there is the role of the champion that also ensures the smooth transition. This champion will be like the kind of the pioneer that leads by an example and shows them that, you know, being customer focused has a merit, and he will be kind of like the example that everyone wants to follow. And then this is especially true because this champion is not a management personnel. He is one of the sales associates. So he is technically like one of the rest.
Sorry, can you just on staying on this question, can you go to your solution in terms of the app? You had an app which had a left side and the right side, more focusing on the dealer, talking to the left and right. There's slide 18. Yeah. So when you talk about this risk is high in terms of likelihood, you're talking of the right part of it or the left side?
Hi, I can take this. So your question is about the likelihood of like the adoption of the technology, right?
Yeah. So and is it because you also want the customer to kind of use the technology? So are you looking at a salesman being resistant, which was your first of the facts, which you said the salespeople don't use tech so much, whereas, or are you wanting customers to use direct technology to remove any human error?
I think that we had two different strategies, and the first was focusing on the sales people, whereas the second one was focusing on the customer. And we had two different risk and mitigation. And so for both our risk and mitigation, the change in resistance was our highest risk. Carrie, could you go to my risk and mitigation slide? So as Melanie explained, her risk was also for the resistance of change from the sales point of view, whereas mine is also like not a resistance, but just the adoption of technology, which is also high just because I think everyone is kind of like resistant to change with technology just because it's not something they're familiar with and because like they just don't see the benefit of it. So like, for example, when the pandemic hit and we all had to change to Zoom, like, even though it's very easy and to use, I wasn't really like fond of it at the first chance when I heard of it, just because I'm like, well, I'm not used to it and I don't see the benefit of it. So I think that's just where we're coming from. Like, everyone's just resistant to change.
Okay. Just another question. What is your year one? What year is that? When you say year one in your financials?
For our year one, thank you for your question. But for our year one, we started with the units from 2020. So it's based off of the Taycan units sold in Hong Kong in 2020, which gave us our revenue. Oh, also, we have an appendix here for the assumptions that we made and the costs that we assumed for each year.
So your year one is 2020, and then your year two is 2021.
Yes.
So can you go back to the financials? So your revenue for year two kind of matches with the appendix. I mean, the case study appendix 1, exhibit 1. Does it, the case study exhibit 1. So your numbers align with that?
Yes.
Sorry, can you go to slide 22? Yeah. So you're saying your year one and year two numbers align with exhibit 1? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we based it off of the units sold from 2020 and 2021. Yes, in exhibit 1 and exhibit 2 in the case. But for the units themselves, instead of directly going off of China, we wanted to center it more on just Hong Kong. So we got a percentage of what we assumed the high net worth individuals in China versus the high net worth individuals in Hong Kong to get a smaller, reduced number of units. So it's not the whole big.
That's fine. Okay, thanks for the clarification. The other part I'm asking is, so your year 4 is typically 2023, right?
Yes.
So these financials do not take into account your implementation of the strategy, because your timeline chart of your strategy, can you go to that, is 3 years, 2024 onwards. So these numbers do not take account of your implementation of your strategy, right?
To add on to this, so as you can see on our timeline, there is an evaluation period, and during that time, so if the evaluation goes well, and we do think that everything is goes along with our financials, we would still like to implement. And so I think that is why our financials didn't project like the whole until 2025, because
so that's fine. I'm just clarifying, because the financials do not take account of the implementation of your strategy, right?
Sorry, to add on to this, our financials do support our strategy. Like you said, if you go to the financials, it accounts for until 2024. And then, so as I've explained, so this is because we didn't want to do the whole.
How is this 24? Sorry, it starts from 2020, right?
This is up until 2023.
Yeah, so 2024 is not accounted here.
This is just to give a projection. So we just ended it in 2023, but the year 1 is the year of like actual like implementation.
No, that's fine. I'm just trying to understand your strategy will be implemented from 2024. So this does not account your strategy. I'm just not trying to question it. I'm just trying to confirm my understanding.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can you go back to our timeline, Carrie? So our implementation actually kind of starts from 2022, because when we say implement, we're talking about building everything and like building that process and that training thing. But like the actual launch, or what you refer to as like the implementation, it does start from like 2024 after like the final launch, after evaluation.
So you're saying there will be some parts coming in 2022?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Tran. Sorry, you had some questions.
Sure. Thank you. So suppose I'm Aileen, and I would have a few questions here. Thanks for the consultation. So the first question would be about, this is a big plan, then until the completion of this plan, then what should be the recommendation to remediate the problems that I'm having right now? So actually, I don't want to have another poll tomorrow and the day after. So what would be your recommendation?
I can answer this question. Thank you so much. So this is something that our team did consider. And although there is kind of like a time lag between the final, like our strategy, the final version, and until we actually see the results. So when I mentioned this champion, this person is already someone who is very motivational, who already embodies this whole customer-centric focus. And so in this time, I think something that we could do is communicate our ideas first so they can start, implementing and like influencing the people around them. But then of course, the official strategy will have to take some time to come to realization.
Yeah, but my concern is always like, having some immediate kind of, short-term solution while we implementing the long-term solution. So yeah, the second, I fully understand the answer, but then there's still a gap there. And the second question is around the financial implication. So for me to get this, strategy, if I am like if I'm fine, I fully support the recommendation, then I need some approval also. So the question is for a financial number in terms of implementing what you propose, not about the sales or things like that, because I'm in charge of client relationship. So what is the cost for implementing all the solution that you just mentioned, including the corporate misalignment or fixing the buying process misalignment?
Thank you for your question. So here we listed the costs assumed, but for year one, the strategy one cost would be around 8.4 million Hong Kong dollars, while strategy two would cost about 4.71 million Hong Kong dollars.
Is it the I mean like the only the cost for this change, or it is the over cost for the P&L? But the costs you mentioned, is it for just for the implementation of the corporate misalignment and buying process misalignment? Is it so?
So these are just the implementation costs for both strategies. It's not containing the operating costs that we also looked at. So the 8.4 million Hong Kong dollars and the 4.71 million Hong Kong dollars are just what we assumed our costs would be for the first and the second strategy.
And do you have a breakdown for that?
Yes. So here we have strategy one cost. We included a consulting or an outside consulting fee, and then we did tech training fee, the cost of what it would take to produce the technology, and miscellaneous things would include things that would be needed for training. So we have all the numbers here: 1,130,000 Hong Kong dollars for miscellaneous, and then for strategy two, it's also broken up between technology costs, training costs, and then our customer relationship management portal and implementation.
Okay, thanks. Time for another question. For two strategy, change or improvement of the buying process and improvement of the corporate, like a misalignment, what would be more prioritized, and why in implementing?
Thank you for the question. So this is something we thought about, and then definitely the organizational misalignment is something more urgent that we wanted to emphasize, and that's why we started with that. And it's also reflected through our implementation timeline, just because it kind of goes hand in hand. Like, we need to solve this issue of misalignment within the organization where they don't understand why we should focus on customers. And so how can this be achieved through the portal if they don't realize the value in using the portal, which is, in the end, it all comes back to giving exceptional customer service and experience and just being customer centric.
Okay, thank you all. Now the judges will stay in the room to deliberate. Dear team, we will place you in the waiting room and bring you back for the feedback session in a few minutes. Everyone else, please kindly leave the room, and we will see you later for the results announcement. Thank you.